crawler, and we knew how to spread that mess out. We had a Tiger hydraulic powered root rake, and we could rake through that mess and rake all the sticks off to the side. And then we built a root picker, a stick picker. So we worked with Jack Morris one winter, and that machine is all hydraulic drive. It sorted the sticks from the dirt, the ash. It elevated it into a 10-yard hopper on the back of the machine, so we drive until that was full, dump it, and we had a whole series of small round piles across the field. It was easy to light them, burn them up, and get rid of the burn rows. So talking about cleanup work, Track 5 had about 72 miles of burn row on it. Neighbors saw what we were doing, they wanted cleanup work done. We kept track for a few years, and somewhere around 14,000 acres were cleaned up in the 1990s with this equipment. Best ground on the farm was left in rows, resulting in the burn row effect. Yields on the burn rows could be double compared to the rest of the field. So the big question became how to duplicate this effect on other acres. We discussed that with university and research people for many years and had different ideas. This is a picture of the burn row effect that you can still see 30 and 40 years after clearing. It's still there today. Another picture of what the burn rows are. Someone had the idea of adding lime, changing the pH might be beneficial. So a few years ago, that was one experiment. There's another trial underway currently using charcoal to study the yield increase, trying to duplicate the burn row effect, and how to increase those yields. So moving on, 1995 was a big year for grain production. Yields were good, markets were limited. Unsold grain tonnage was growing. So the solution was export grain, import feeder cattle. So 1996, with the help of Ken Sherwood, we lined up a sale of some barley. This is a picture when we were loading a rail car. We hauled the grain from Delta up there to Moose Creek. We loaded 2 rail cars, not at the same time, but at different times. So 100 tons of barley in a rail car took 4 semi-loads to load it. One of the cars was this car. The way I understand it, at one time the state owned 20 of these cars. 18 of them were sold when they canceled the export facility at Seward, but they kept 2 of them, and they're still in circulation today, the way I understand it. So, in addition to exporting some barley, we bought 5 loads of feeder cattle from Canada. Before we did this, and we checked with the manager at the Palmer Meat Plant, who encouraged us and assured us that we'd get them processed. And that was at the Farm Forum. He was up here, Frank Huffman was up here that year, and we talked about this. So, thinking that we had a good market for those, why we proceeded, bought the feeder cattle. We partnered with some other people that had facilities. There's Jerry Marlowe. We partnered with Scott Miller and Herb Simon. We furnished the feeder cattle and the feed. They furnished the facilities and the labor, and then we split up the sales when that time came. Some of them were black and whites. Most of them were coloreds. And of course, the next part about that story is when it came time to market the cattle, it didn't go smooth at all. The slaughter plant in Palmer, they weren't ready to take cattle by the truckload. Oh, first thing, we bought them at different weights and so on, so they wouldn't all be ready for market at the same time. But come September, October, we wanted to sell some, and we got to process all these 4-H calves first, and yeah, maybe we can take care of 5 head next week. We ended up carrying quite a few of the cattle through the next winter, which yeah, it used up a lot about it. Moving on then, 96, 97, and 98 were the dry years. In some cases, yields were under half a ton to the acre. No straw came out behind the combine. The only good yield was on the durum rows. Other problems that we had were grasshoppers, bison. What years were that, Scott?
Oh,
86.
86, and I think it was every other year for a while. 86, 88, 90, 92. I don't know if it extended beyond that or not. But yeah, there was no chemical in state, so in 86 we were late getting the chemical shipped in. Thurngers drove down to Anchorage to get it picked up. It was flown in on Flying Tigers, if I remember right. They picked it up, brought it up here. Harvey Wheeler got some extra work that way, spraying for grasshoppers. It was all standing grain, so Harvey was out there doing a lot of flying, trying to kill the grasshoppers.
And it worked.
Yeah, there's a lot of dead grasshoppers laying on the ground. Sometimes you'd go out there and you couldn't identify grasshoppers, but there was something laying in the drill mark tracks. You get down on your hands and knees, and it was the legs of the grasshoppers that were laying there. The rest of the body had been eaten. They were cannibalized. That was a nice part about spraying 7. As they ate each other, they were infecting each other, and they kept dying off. And there was lots of grasshoppers. And then there's the furry critters. They always took their fair share. Solution to that, build some fences. So we started in on a project. We bought some supplies and brought them in and went to building fences. That was about a 10-year project to get the fence wrapped around the farm. How many miles we end up with?
25 and a half.
About 25 and a half miles we built.
And 7
Contained
days.
things.
So back to talking about markets. So our quest for more markets, we added grass seed to the mix. And this was at the help and the encouragement of Pat Mulligan. We got to where we grew different grasses that were needed for re-veg work.